My partner of 4 years had an active dating app. I found out from a notification on the shared tablet. What I found when I started reading was a pattern that had been going on longer than I thought. There are discoveries that arrive without you looking for them, that are not the result of distrust or systematic review of what the other person does. That arrive because something in the ordinary universe of your daily life simply appears and puts you in front of something you did not ask to see and that nevertheless you can no longer not have seen. The notification appeared on the apartment tablet on a Sunday afternoon. I was looking for a series I wanted to watch. The tablet was on the living room table. I opened it, and on the screen, before I touched anything, there was a notification from a dating app with my partner's name and a photo of her and the text of a message someone had sent her. My name is Andres. I am 34 years old. I'm a freelance graphic designer, and I have been with a woman named Camila for 4 years who is 32, who is a marketing analyst, and who until that Sunday was the person I thought I was building something with that both of us wanted to build. For years, an apartment we have rented together for two. Conversations about the future that included concrete things. The kind of relationship that from the outside seems stable because from the inside it also feels stable. Or it felt stable. Before Sunday, I sat looking at the notification for a moment. I did not open it immediately. The first movement of my head was to look for an explanation that was not what it seemed. An old account Camila had forgotten to close. An app that had been installed from before we met and that someone had written to without her being active. A number of possibilities the brain generates when it wants what it is seeing not to be what it seems. Then I opened it. The app was not a forgotten old account. The last message on the screen was 3 days old. It had been sent by her to someone she had been talking to for 4 weeks, according to the history visible on the screen. I scrolled back through the conversations. There were 3 active threads with 3 different people, all 3 active in the last 2 months. All 3 with the tone and content of someone exploring something romantic with intent. They were not ambiguous conversations. They were what they looked like. Camila was in the bedroom. I was in the living room. I closed the app. I put the tablet on the table. And I sat looking at the black screen for a time I cannot measure precisely, but that was enough that when Camila came out and asked whether I was okay, I could answer yes with the calm of someone who needs that time to decide how to have the conversation that is coming. I told her yes. That I was tired. That I was going to go for a walk. I went out to the street. I walked for an hour without a specific direction. What I processed in that hour was several things simultaneously. The first, what I had seen. Conversations with 3 people over 2 months with content that had no reasonable alternative reading. The second, the question of how long this had been going on. The app had the history of the last 2 months visible, but could have additional history. I did not know. The third, what I wanted to do. Not abstractly, concretely. Did I want to have a conversation that night? Did I want more information first? What did I want to result from the conversation when I had it? I decided to have the conversation that night. Not because it was the most convenient moment, but because continuing in the apartment as if nothing while knowing what I knew was something I could not do. I arrived back at the apartment. Camila was in the kitchen. I told her we needed to talk. She looked at me in the way someone looks at you when the tone of your voice tells them the conversation coming is different from the ordinary ones. She asked about what. I told her I had seen a notification on the tablet, that I had opened it, that I had seen the conversations. Camila said nothing for several seconds, and the silence she did not fill was her first response before she said anything. What followed was a conversation of almost 3 hours that was the most difficult of 4 years together. I'm not going to reproduce it completely because there are parts that belong to that space and no other. But I'm going to tell what matters for this story. Camila did not deny what I'd seen. She told me she had been on the app, that the conversations were what they were, that they had not gone beyond messages, that there had been no physical encounters with any of those people. I asked her how long she had been using the app. She took a while. She told me she had not closed it when we started dating, that in the first months it had remained active thinking the relationship was still new and she did not know where it was going, that when the relationship had become more serious, she had uninstalled the app, that a year ago she had reinstalled it, without telling me anything, without anything in our relationship, according to what I knew, explaining it. I asked her why. She told me she did not have a simple answer, that there had been a period when she had felt restless in a way she had not known how to name, that the app had been a way of feeling something she did not know exactly what it was, that she had never wanted to end what we had. I asked whether at any point she had thought about telling me what she was feeling instead of reinstalling the app. She took too long to answer, and that delay was the part of the conversation that mattered most to me. I did not make any decision about the relationship that night. I told her I needed time, that what I had just heard required more processing than could happen in a single conversation, that in the meantime, I needed the app to be closed, and that if there was something she needed from our relationship that was different from what we had, she should tell me. That if she could not or did not want to tell me that the alternative was not an app. It was an honest conversation about what she wanted. Camila said yes to everything, with the seriousness of someone who knows what just happened has consequences that do not yet have a complete shape. What followed in the subsequent weeks was a process that had several dimensions. The first was the most practical. We started couples therapy. Not because I had assumed it as the answer, but because what had come out in that Sunday conversation had layers that required more than conversations between us to process well. The second was the most difficult, the process of understanding what had produced in Camila the need to have that parallel space without telling me anything. What emerged in therapy was more complicated than the simple version of digital infidelity. Camila had spent years with a difficulty naming what she needed within romantic relationships, a tendency to create exit spaces before being able to say something was not working for her, not as a calculated strategy, as a learned pattern she herself had not fully seen until the therapeutic process named it. That did not justify what she had done, but it gave context to something that otherwise would have been difficult to understand. The third dimension was mine. My own process of understanding what I wanted, whether what had happened was something from which I could see a path forward with Camila, or whether it was information telling me that what we had could not be sustained honestly. We stayed together, not as the easy decision, but as the decision I made when I processed honestly what I wanted and what I believed was possible given what both of us were willing to do with what had come out. The relationship we have now is different. It has more difficult conversations. It has less assumption that the other is okay because they do not say they are not. It has a structure of honesty that did not exist before because we had not had reason to build it. I do not yet know whether that is enough. Nobody knows that until they know. What I do know is that what we are building now is based on the real situation and not the version both of us had assumed without verifying. What I want you to take from this story has two parts. The first is for whoever recognizes themselves in Camila's position. When something in a relationship is not working for you, and you do not know how to name it, the solution is not to build a parallel exit space. It is the difficult effort of finding the language for what you need and giving it to the person you are with. That language may not exist yet. It may require help to build. That help can be individual or couples therapy. What it cannot be is an app. Because the app does not resolve what you cannot name. It only postpones it, and postpones it at a cost that is not only yours. The second part is for whoever recognizes themselves in Andres' position. Discovering something like this without having looked for it puts you in a position you did not choose, with information you did not ask for but already have, and with the question of what you want to do with it. There is no universal answer. There is your answer, which requires the time it requires, and which deserves to be taken from the clearest place you can find, not from the anger of the first moment, not from the pressure to decide quickly, from the clarity of knowing what you want and what you believe is possible. That clarity takes the time it takes, and that time is yours to take. If this story reached you, comment. Do you believe digital emotional infidelity is a betrayal of the same magnitude as physical infidelity, or do you think there are important differences between the two? Like if you believe couples should have explicit conversations about what they consider infidelity in the context of apps and social media. Subscribe for more real stories. Share with someone who is processing something similar and who needs to know that the time to process is valid. Reflection to take with you. The solution to what you cannot name in a relationship is never a parallel space where you do not have to name it. It is the difficult work of finding the language. That work is uncomfortable. It is more uncomfortable than opening an app, and it produces something an app can never produce: the possibility for the person you are with to know what you need and be able to respond to it.